Hey y'all, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming to you with a reading vlog, and it's a reading vlog that I tend to enjoy filming every year because we are going into the week of Thanksgiving, of American Thanksgiving. And so actually today, the day that I am starting the vlog, we have about a week before Thanksgiving. It's not going to be a very large affair for us this year. And it really never is. Thanksgiving is not really the holiday that my whole extended family gets together. And so I think it's going to be pretty low key. And I don't think we're going to be doing, the big standard Thanksgiving fare. We are basically going to have some ham sandwiches. So I will definitely carry you along with me. I just don't think it's going to be a big affair of a lot of cooking. But what will be happening definitely is the sad transition from fall decor into Christmas decor. It's very sad. I filmed yesterday the last couple of videos that I wanted to film in front of my bookshelves while they still had up some fall decor, while they still had pumpkins and some like orange garland. And last night, got out a lot of the Christmas stuff. We actually now put up 2 trees because we technically have 2 areas that we spend a lot of time in the house. And the main area that we like to spend time is what was my office area when we worked from home. And that's where my new desk area is and everything. That's just kind of like the crafting room. It's where we have all of our crafting gear and everything. And that's kind of where recreationally we like to spend time. And last year we decided that we kind of wanted at least a small tree up there because we feel like in the Christmas season we can't spend any time there because we want to be down here in this room looking at the tree, which will be here behind me. And so this will be the last time I film in this location probably before the end of the year. It is so crazy. I mean, really, I hope someone is doing a study on how our brains have processed time since the start of the pandemic, because to me, it literally feels like it is still 2019. And I'm having to come to terms with the fact that it's actually going to be 2023. And I feel like I've lost a lot of time. And I know a lot of people feel like that, but I just hope someone is doing a study on that somewhere. Anyways, I really can't believe we're here at the end of the year, and I'm really excited about reading again. I have so much that I want to read. I have so much that I want to film, and now it kind of feels like, oh, I need to switch gears entirely and move into my year-end content. But the goal over the next few days is going to be to get that little tree up. And I feel like I've shown it to y'all. It's more of like a winter wonderland type Christmas tree. It's not very traditional, and it's more like woodsy. And I really like that because it makes me think of Denmark. It makes me think of when I lived in Copenhagen, because there's a lot of like wood in their Christmas decor. And there's like this thing called the Christmas goat. Look it up. Look it up. If you've never heard of the Christmas goat, please look it up. But that's what that tree reminds me of. And it feels almost more wintry than it does Christmas. It's a pretty small tree, but we just don't want to put up 2 trees in the same weekend. I don't want that to be everything we have to do next weekend after Thanksgiving. So that's kind of what's on the agenda. I am planning a lot of baking projects this holiday season. I say it every year that I want to spend a lot of time baking, and time just always, of course, gets away from you in the holiday season. But I really want to make a concerted effort this year to do more baking because I really enjoy it. And it's so cold here. It's like so wonderful. It is so cold here. I think the high today is 42. I'm just in my happy place. I'm so happy. But to give you a reading update, I am currently reading 2 books, and it feels like they are a bit in conversation actually. So one book that I am reading is a reread, and it's a book that I read for the first time over 15 years ago. So it is Animal Farm by George Orwell. I will tell you, the reason that I am rereading this is like many-fold. I feel like I've been getting a lot of signs from the universe that I need to reread Animal Farm. So last week, I scrapped a vlog that was going to be another vlog of me reading K-pop idols faves, because I read one great one and then I DNF'd the others, and I just felt like that wasn't a great vlog after I've had some unsuccessful vlogs recently. So the book that I did finish and that I rated 5 stars was Tender is the Flesh. This is a translated work. It was originally written in Spanish by an Argentinian author, I believe. So this was working for me on many levels. I really wanted to read something from South America to say that I had read from all of the continents this year. So this crossed that off for me. But this was recommended by Kevin from The Boys, and this whole vlog was going to be about The Boys because they are my second alt group in K-pop. I love them so much, and I really love watching their content. And Kevin from The Boys is like this just sunshine of a human being. Like, he's just a really happy-go-lucky, genuinely joyful person. He is always upbeat and happy, and a lot of his favorite books are like The Shack and stuff like that, like happy literature, even religious literature. And so I was shocked that he recommended Tender is the Flesh. But all this to say, Tender is the Flesh is a dystopian work where in the future, meat has been contaminated. Animals specifically have been contaminated by a virus, which means it would kill human beings to eat meat. And the government has also released information saying you can't get all of the nutrients you need from vegetables. In fact, somewhat vegetables are even bad for you. So you do have to have meat. And as such, their society has progressed to the point where they have human beings for meat. And it was a disturbing book. Like, everyone in the reviews on Goodreads is like, this is the most disturbing book I've ever read. And I am someone who really does not eat meat. It's a rare occasion when I eat meat. And so I think this was probably far more disturbing for people who are like big consumers of beef specifically, because that's a lot of the imagery they used. And so I think the book was like twofold. Like, it was trying to make you analyze your fellow man, but it was also making you analyze the meat industry, and it made you think about animals in human terms, which I thought was just genuinely fascinating, because like one of the elements of the book, of course, is, was this virus ever real, or did the government construct this virus and do this in a way to have population control over the population? I just thought it was fabulous. The entire time I was reading it, I was like, George Orwell would have eaten this up. 1984, it really gave those vibes. A lot of people nowadays slam 1984 for being obvious. But what's so interesting, and like what's the scary thing about 1984, is just how much of it George Orwell got right. And I felt that in Tender is the Flesh. I felt like we were really discussing societal issues in an interesting way, but also in an obvious way. I think that's one thing that people don't like about George Orwell, is that he's kind of heavy-handed and he's telling you what he's going to discuss pretty blatantly. To me, why be subtle? Some of these issues should be discussed openly, and George Orwell was brave enough to do that. And I think Tender is the Flesh was a book that was brave enough to do that, and I rated it 5 stars. It's one of the best books I read all year. Thank you, Kevin from The Boys. I still am disturbed that it is a book that he would have recommended, but it was fantastic, truly fantastic. And from that, I was like, you know, I really just want to reread Animal Farm. I really do. And so I downloaded it on my Kindle, and it's so short. I mean, it's really short. And I remember it being like under 150 pages, but I feel like I've read maybe 5 pages and my Kindle is telling me I'm 15% of the way through. But Animal Farm, if you don't know, is an allegory for the Russian Revolution, and it's about animals taking over a farm and running their human farmer off the land. And so it is essentially an allegory for the Russian Revolution. Each of the animals stands in for different people and also just in general different classes in the Russian Revolution. I've always thought for years and years, like if somebody just generically wanted a classic recommendation, I would tell them to read Animal Farm. I genuinely think anyone can get something out of Animal Farm. His writing is just so charming and it's so magical. I don't know. I really love George Orwell and I always have. This is my favorite book that we ever studied in school. Was Animal Farm, and I read it in middle school and it was life-changing, and I still think about it. I think about it all the time. Sometimes when I'm just watching the news, I think about all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. He really sat down and told us how it was. So that's a book that I'm currently reading, and I feel sure I will finish that probably today, maybe tomorrow. It'll be a very quick read. I am also reading for Nonfiction November a book that was not on my TBR, but is a book that goes hand in hand with Animal Farm, weirdly enough. And it is Bloodlands, Europe Between Hitler and Stalin by Timothy Snyder. This is absolutely fantastic nonfiction. I am about 100 pages in, and it is specifically about that area that is between Germany and Russia, specifically in World War II. So Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, and so World War I and the Russian Revolution played their role in this to a certain extent. That's why I feel like this is going great in conversation with Animal Farm. But George Orwell was also writing Animal Farm during World War II, so it felt like it was pretty perfect. But this is a book that I picked up earlier this year when the war in Ukraine started, and I really was curious about Ukraine. And I've heard from a lot of people that this book really highlights Ukrainian history, and it's not light reading. I want to go on and say that. You need to be in the right headspace to read this. And a lot of it is just numbers being thrown at you, like a certain amount of people died this day. And it'll be something like 380,000 people died November 2nd, 1933. How do you even wrap your mind around a number like that? So it's very, very difficult to read. It's not light reading, but it is absolutely fantastic nonfiction. And I have to say that I really appreciate that immediately going into this, Timothy Snyder has kind of held my hand a little bit, and he has really given me the introduction that I feel like I need to understand what was going on in the Bloodlands, because this is specifically the killing fields. More people died in this area than they did on any other front in the war. And I will tell you straight up, I know next to nothing about World War II. And that always seems like a weird thing to say because most American historians specialize in it, I think, specifically men. And that's really why I've never really gotten into it. It feels like such a man topic, World War II. And I think when we were learning about it in school, what we learned was about the Holocaust. I recall learning about the Holocaust, and that's what I feel comfortable in my knowledge of. That's what I know the most about is the Holocaust, but I don't know anything about the battles. I think we also learned a little bit about the Pacific because that's when America got involved, was after Pearl Harbor, and we learned a little bit about the Pacific. But for the most part, my education here as a kid was about the Holocaust. And I think that was very important, and I think that was probably the right way to go, especially when you see how the Holocaust is being taught nowadays in certain schools. But don't get me up on that soapbox, it really enrages me. So I know next to nothing about the timeline of the battles, and one thing I like about this book so far is that it's not really about that. It's really, so far, it's been talking about the state-imposed famine by the Soviet Union on Soviet Ukraine, which is something that I knew quite a bit about. And now it's talking about like Hitler and Stalin's relations. And Stalin firmly believed that Japan and Poland were going to invade the USSR. And I don't know that I ever knew that. And I think that's so wild. Like he literally thought Poland and Japan were in conversation and were like, hey, I think we could take the USSR. I think we could do it. Just kind of bizarre, but Stalin was certainly a unique individual. That's putting it kindly. But I highlighted this section early on in the preface. In a comparison of the Soviet and Nazi regimes, the political theorist Hannah Arendt wrote in 1951 that factuality itself depends for its continued existence upon the existence of the non-totalitarian world. The American diplomat George Kennan made the same point in simpler words in Moscow in 1944. Here men determine what is true and what is false. Is truth nothing more than a convention of power, or can truthful historical accounts resist the gravity of politics? Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union sought to master history itself. The Soviet Union was a Marxist state whose leaders proclaimed themselves to be scientists of history. National Socialism was an apocalyptic vision of total transformation, to be realized by men who believed that will and race could slough off the burden of the past. The 12 years of Nazi and the 74 years of Soviet power certainly weigh heavily on our ability to evaluate the world. Many people believe that the crimes of the Nazi regime were so great as to stand outside history. This is a troubling echo of Hitler's own belief that will triumphs over facts. Others maintain that the crimes of Stalin, though horrible, were justified by the need to create or defend a modern state. This recalls Stalin's view that history has only one course, which he understood, and which legitimates his policies in retrospect. I can see why this one has made it onto a lot of people's favorites lists. I'm really excited because I'm learning a lot, but it is heavy. I mean, heavy. But I'm excited to learn more from this. I know that World War II is just a big gap for me. I know far more about World War I than I do about World War II. And it's always just been a blind spot for me. I know about the Holocaust, and that's about it. And I've read a couple of things this year that have really taught me something about World War II, something that I didn't know. Like, I really didn't know that Japan was interested in taking China until I read Pachinko. I didn't know anything about that. I thought that was really interesting to learn about the Japanese Empire. So maybe that's something that I need to do, is I need to work my way east. I need to figure out what was going on all over the world in World War II in order to have context for it. This was a really long initial update. Sorry about that. I will talk to you again later. So you might can tell I took the garland down. Now we still have all this to do, and basically like everything else fall is still up, but it's okay. But I did take the garland down, and I put up the tree. Now, the tree is also not decorated for upstairs, but again, that's okay. I really just wanted the tree up so that we can decorate it as we go, because we need to move furniture around in here to get prepared for the big tree. Well, reading update time, I'm about 50% of the way through Animal Farm, and I'm not loving it as much as I thought I was going to. I realize this about myself now, but I'm just someone who struggles quite a bit with allegory. I think it's very heavy-handed, and that is most certainly the case here. I just feel like this is so obvious, and I think that's what makes Animal Farm such a great beginner's classic, and such a great classic for children specifically. I can assume that's why we were assigned it in middle school, because it's very obvious. But the older I have gotten, the less I have liked allegory, because I don't like how heavy-handed it is. So I'm unfortunately not loving this as much as I thought I was going to love it on reread. There are still some like amazing quotes, and it's still pretty darn great, but I don't think it's going to get 5 stars out of me. And the thing about it that bothers me is not necessarily that it's an allegory, it's that big plot points and things that should have been scenes, things that we as the reader should have witnessed the characters do, like just in general, running the farmer off the farm. It's just stated in a sentence, they got rid of the farmer. Okay, that could have been a scene. That could have made the book longer. And I get that's not the point of the book. The point of the book is the allegory. But why not give us some detail? Why not give us something to cleave to? I don't know. I feel like it's probably still going to be 4 stars, but I don't think I'm going to give it 5. I'm about to go get ready to go out to eat with some friends. It's like biting cold outside, and I'm so excited about it. And so I'm going out with some friends. One of my friends He's literally a beleaguered extrovert amidst two introverts. And so I feel like he's always the one like trying to drag us to do something and go have fun. Bless his heart. So he is dragging us introverts out of our cave tonight. So no more reading will be getting done. And oh my gosh, 1899 came out yesterday, y'all. We're gonna have to have a discussion, okay? 1899 came out on Netflix yesterday. I'm already obsessed. So I'll talk about that later, but now I need to go get ready. I know you can't see the full fit, but I'm looking cute and I'm looking cozy. So it has been a couple of days since I last updated you, and thus I actually have no idea what the last thing was that I told you. I don't know what the last reading update was. I'll tell you, not a lot of progress has been made because over the past couple of days, more progress has been focused on getting down the fall stuff, sad to say, and kind of getting the Christmas stuff out, assessing what we have, seeing if there's anything we need, and one of the Christmas trees is up, not the Big Daddy that lives over there. And we also went out shopping the other day to kind of go on and get a head start on things before the Thanksgiving rush. So we headed to Kirkland's, we got some candles, and I wish I had kept them down here because they smell really good and I could have shown them to you. And then we went to Marshall's and I actually found a shirt because I'm going to a concert in January and I needed a shirt. The shirt, when I show it to you, you're gonna say, Jennifer, how can you style that? Because it does give like a 60-year-old woman going to see Kenny Rogers. But I personally think it's going to look pretty great. It's definitely meant to be like a New Year's Eve blouse. It's one of those kind of crinkly materials that have all that shine in them, black and silver shine. But we went a bunch of other places, kind of doing some Christmas look arounds, got some soap from Bath and Body Works because they were having an incredible sale. And so I personally just feel more in the spirit now. Like I definitely feel like it's the holidays now because I've been out in the hustle and bustle. And there's something about that that just like automatically brings in the holiday spirit. But it means that I've been so busy that I haven't really read much of anything. So I'm still reading Bloodlands and I'm maybe 150 pages into that. It is not really a book that I don't want to say I'm not excited to read it because I am. I'm really interested in it and I think it's offered a lot of really great, incredible information. But at the same time, it's not the ideal book to like read to come down from your day. It's frankly just very heavy subject matter and it means that I can take it in small doses, but I don't want to sit and read it for 3 hours at a time. I just don't. So I really want to fold something else in because I did finish Animal Farm. I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I'm kind of disappointed comparing this reread to my first read of the book. My first read of Animal Farm was just lightning strike. This was incredible. And I think possibly it is a book that is just ideal to discuss with a class. I think it is the perfect book for the classroom, and I think it is also an ideal book for a younger generation. And thus, I just don't think it hit as much for me because nothing was left to the imagination. This was nothing but a political statement when it comes down to it. And I think it was very successful in that. I really, truly do. And so many incredible quotes in it make me want to give it 5 stars. But I think I mentioned this earlier. There were just moments where he glossed over things that he could have discussed at length. Things that should have been key moments in the plot, he did not really discuss and he didn't really go in depth on. He just kind of glossed over it, and it was just something that would often be discussed in one sentence and then we moved on. And I was like, that could have been a scene. That could have been character development. On the one hand, does it matter? Probably not, because that's not what the book was intending to do. But on the other hand, when I think about books with strong characterization, books that I tend to really love, I think there would have been more detail given there. So I gave it 4 stars, not 5. I still don't feel like it's 3. Like, I feel like child Jenny, preteen Jenny should figure into the equation when rating this book, because I think by design this book is really great for somebody who is 11, 12, 13 years old. I think it is a great beginner's classic, and I think it's just great for that age range because allegory works so well. The older I get, the less I like allegory, and this has really proven that to me. So I don't think I can consider this an all-time favorite anymore, sad to say, but I still really enjoyed it. And I think if it was the first time I read this, I would have been very disappointed. But knowing that I read and loved it at such a young age, I kind of factor that in to the rating now. Before I end this clip, I remember now that I ended the last clip on a high, talking about 1899, the new show on Netflix from the creators of Dark. I said that when I had watched the first episode, and I was really pumped about a period piece and horror in a period piece. I watched the second episode last night. I don't know that I'm vibing it. Based on how the second episode ended, I kind of feel like I'm not gonna vibe with it. But I will do anything for Aaron Bernard, who is in this show. He is like basically my favorite actor, and I will watch him in anything. I have tried basically everything that he's been in because he played Richard III in 2013 in the White Queen miniseries, and he's my favorite Richard III, so I just have followed him throughout his career, and he's in 1899. The thing about 1899 that makes it so interesting, though, is that it's filmed in so many different languages. I just get the sense that the show is not what I thought it was going to be. I don't know. I'll keep with it. I also started, if you want another TV update, I also started Reborn Rich, which is a K-drama that stars the main actor from Vincenzo, which is one of my favorite K-dramas. This is about a guy who was betrayed by this company, and he is reincarnated into one of the sons of the family that runs this company, and it's basically going to be like revenge from the inside, like an inside job. And I really already love it. I've only watched 1 episode. 3 episodes are out. Otherwise, TV has really not excited me in the past few months. I have not been able to find a good show that I cared anything about. So I'm hopeful about Reborn Rich. Like, please carry me through here. But 1899, I don't know. I think I need to stick with it. I think I need to give it time. I knew it was going to be weird because Dark was weird. But Dark was weird in like a Lost kind of way, which made it fantastic to me. I don't know. We will give it another shot. We will carry on with it. Update from some poor lighting. It is Thanksgiving evening, so I really, in the end, did not cook with you the way that I thought, but we decided to go very low-key. I think I mentioned that in the beginning. We just did sandwiches, which I really liked. I'm not a big Thanksgiving meal person. I'm not really big into most of the Thanksgiving foods, so I was really pumped about the sandwiches, and I really enjoyed it. So we had lunch instead of dinner, which I also really liked. because it meant that this afternoon we could kind of get prepared to put up the big Christmas tree. I did finally start another book to fold in with Bloodlands, and it is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea Summers, I believe is the author's name. Y'all, I am obsessed with this. This was recommended to me after reading Tender is the Flesh, and it deals with quite similar subject matter. It's not actually a dystopia. This is more of a literary fiction, and I guess I would say like this is kind of in that unhinged female category, like just unhinged women. And I didn't think I would be the type of girl that would get into that would really get into literary fiction about like unlikable female characters. But kind of, I should have known that I would like it, because I do tend to really like unlikable female protagonists. And there's something really refreshing about this book in particular, because the female protagonist by design is unlikable, and so she is not doing anything to try to make you as the reader like her at all. And I really respect it. Like, there's a villanelle quality to this, like Villanelle from Killing Eve. It's quite funny. This book is about a psychopath, and this is a woman who killed her lovers and then would eat them. And she is also a food blogger. Like, she was a food writer for many years. And so in many ways, the book is kind of a satire of all of the food writing that we've all read. And so I really appreciate that. But the writing is so decadent and lovely, and it's just a genuine joy to read. Like, it's very gross, of course. And in the end, what is the plot of the book? I really couldn't tell you. This book is really about vibe. I just really like the discussion that the book is having, that we have allowed feminism to take women into basically every other category, but we won't let them go into the realm of psychopath. Like, the realm of murderous is still very weird for people. And this book is just very much like American Psycho to me. And I really love the tone of it. I just frankly am loving the book. I'm really obsessed with the book. And I think it's really, really good. I don't know that it's on par with Tender is the Flesh. Tender is the Flesh was really making a lot of social critique. And so I can see why this one was compared, of course, because we have people eating other people. But I think Tender is the Flesh framed that as a societal choice and kind of a political discussion. This book frames it as a conversation between female and male power. Y'all, I am telling you, I am obsessed with it. Like, it is so good. So good. I will update you probably when I finish it, but I think it might be tonight. Like, it's a very short book. It's a very short book. So was Tender is the Flesh. And I feel like this year has broadly been the year of short books for me. And I, in the past, have never been someone who is really into short books. It's totally changed now. So I am really excited about this. I wonder if this means that I should try a Tessa Moshfegh. Let me know. Let me know down below. Should I try my year of rest and relaxation or Lapvona? I really want to try Lapvona, but kind of going on in kind of a trend of unhinged female protagonists, I kind of feel like my year of rest and relaxation is one that I have to go with. So let me know down below. But I'm really excited. I'm reading a lot of books that I'm really enjoying. I don't want to say that I'm enjoying Bloodlands. It's kind of the wrong word. I have learned a lot. We're at the point in Bloodlands where I just can't read it for very long because it's a lot of numbers and it's a lot of facts and it's stuff that I really want to remember. But of course it is very, very heavy. I mean, it is so heavy. And it's just like telling you like 600 and some thousand people were killed by this campaign of Stalin's in 1 year. It's just one campaign that he did. More than that were executed. But under a particular campaign, over 600,000 people died. One thing I've learned is that prior to the invasion of Poland, it actually might have benefited you to be in Hitler's Germany over Stalin's USSR, because the odds were 700 times, I think it was, 700 times more likely that you could be executed in the USSR than you would have been in Germany for anything, for any offense. but it's a lot of information at once, and a lot of it very upsetting information. So I have to take that book very slow. I'll let you know how I feel once I finish A Certain Hunger. I'm gonna wrap the vlog up here because it is Sunday after Thanksgiving, so I've been vlogging for about a week. And I did in fact finish last night A Certain Hunger, and like part of me desperately wants to give this book 5 stars. Part of me also, I think, would struggle to recommend this book, so I don't really know where it settles for me, because I think the parts of it that I really enjoyed were the writing style. It wasn't necessarily like the really dark subject matter that really had me interested, though I think had it not had that element, I would not have been as interested in it. Throughout the process of reading this book, I kind of wondered, oh, am I actually a literary fiction kind of girl? And I never knew it. But I think the thing is, this isn't straightforward literary fiction. This has kind of the element of a thriller. It's not really a mystery because you know she did it, and she's basically telling you what she did. And in some ways, it's almost not even a thriller because basically the book has no plot. I don't really even know how to describe it, and I really don't know how to recommend it, like who this book would be for. Is it intended for the general literary fiction audience? I don't know, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't feel like I can really give it 5 stars when I am comparing it to even just Animal Farm, like I read in this vlog, or if I am comparing it to Tender is the Flesh, which I read before starting this vlog, and I picked this book up because it was kind of marketed similarly. Tender is the Flesh was just a 5-star all around in terms of plot, writing. I just really was into that because of the social commentary. There is a lot of social commentary in A Certain Hunger, but it's not to the same degree and it's not in the same way. And I feel like if I am comparing those two books, I think Tender is the Flesh was more successful than A Certain Hunger, but I do see why the books are kind of recommended together, why if you liked one, you would like the other. So I don't know, but if I'm comparing 5 stars, I feel like Tender is the Flesh is one of my favorite books of the year. A Certain Hunger, I feel like it could potentially be on my list of favorite books of the year, but if I am comparing 5-star ratings, I don't have like the passionate, intense reaction to A Certain Hunger that I do to other books that I've rated 5 stars this year. So I feel like I'm just going to rate this one 4 stars. It's so funny because the terrible reviews of this, the 1-star reviews of this, are all about how she writes this book about countries that most of the readers will never visit, and talks about food that most of the readers are never going to have the opportunity to eat. And to me, the pretentious side of it, like that side of it, the travel, the eating, the food writing, that to me is why I like the book. And that's what I really enjoy about it. And I think maybe in the end, maybe I'm not necessarily a literary fiction type of person. Maybe I am in fact a pretentious person, and I like pretentious books because I think that's what I liked about The Secret History. And I think it's also what I liked about like If We Were Villains, stuff like that. That's why I'm really into dark academia. I really kind of like the pretentious vibe to some of the writing, and that's really present here, but I think it is a character choice. Anyways, I loved this. I don't feel like I can really give it 5 stars, but I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and I'll be interested to see how my feelings settle on this one as time goes on. I would love to know down below what you've been reading lately and if you have read any of these books. But that's going to be all for me today. I hope you're all having a great week. Happy reading. Goodbye.